First, let's start with this case. Yesterday, I, 28, went to work at 7 a.m. and didn't get back until 7 p.m. It was an extremely busy day, and I didn't have the chance to eat or drink anything all day. My boyfriend, 29, texted me saying that he had sorted dinner, which I appreciated. When I got home, I found he had bought me a sandwich, a samosa, and 2 cookies. It wasn't exactly a full meal, but I was tired and ate it anyway. Today, I worked the same long hours, except I managed to have a soft drink and a chocolate bar during the day. When I got home, my boyfriend had bought some pasta and jacket potatoes for dinner. I was absolutely starving and suggested we make the pasta. However, I quickly realized there was no pesto or sauce, so I didn't really feel like having plain pasta. My boyfriend said he wanted jacket potatoes, but they were going to take an hour to cook, and I didn't want to wait that long. I suggested ordering pizza for a quick meal, but he insisted on jacket potatoes. When he kept asking what my problem was, I lost my temper. Exhausted and frustrated, I told him to just go home because I didn't have the energy to deal with the situation. I'd been looking forward to relaxing and having dinner after such a long day. He called me an ungrateful brat and left to go back to his mom's house. Now I'm in bed, crying, and too upset to eat. Additional context: we had just returned from a holiday on Friday evening. I drove us the 4 hours back, and I was too tired to go grocery shopping afterward. I was swamped with work on both Saturday and Sunday, so I hadn't had time to stock up on groceries. On Saturday, my boyfriend texted me saying he had sorted dinner, but when I got home, all he had bought was a store-bought sandwich and a samosa. On Sunday, I suggested pasta for dinner, and he said he would pop to the shop and sort it out. Before heading home, I texted him asking if he could put a pan on to boil. When I arrived, he was sitting on the sofa playing Pokémon and hadn't even seen my text. Nothing had been cooked. He had just bought pasta and potatoes and left them in the fridge. To be clear, if he had actually cooked the pasta, I would have gladly eaten it, but he didn't. He had only bought the ingredients. I even offered to pay him back for what he bought. It's also worth noting that we've been together for 4 years, and he treats my home as his on the weekends. I'm happy for him to eat whatever he wants, even though he doesn't contribute financially to groceries. He earns a good salary, so it wasn't a case of him being unable to afford something like pasta sauce. He just thought plain pasta would be fine. Let's start judging. Get up, get groceries, batch cook yourself enough food to do the whole week, and if, as you suggest in your post, it's your house, when he comes back, ask for the keys and tell him he's no longer required. You don't need that kind of child in your life. You're not in the wrong, but he is. Why are you not managing your food? Do you always starve yourself all day and turn yourself into a hangry dragon? Or is this new and a reaction to having the boyfriend over? Honestly, I think this is on you. You're in the wrong. You need to start eating a proper breakfast, and you need to have an after-work snack prepared, particularly if you aren't going to sort out some sort of food into your work schedule. A boyfriend isn't a live-in maid any more than a girlfriend is, and you totally blew your top at someone who was cooking you dinner. Everyone sucks. You do come across as a spoiled brat. And if you have 0 time to eat during a 12-hour day, you are doing a terrible job of managing your work manager. That said, boyfriend sounds like a bumbling buffoon. Dry pasta? Not thinking to put the jacket potatoes in the oven an hour before you were due to get home? He is an idiot too. Next up, my husband and I live in a 3-bedroom apartment. We use the master bedroom, and until earlier this year, the other 2 rooms were a guest room and a shared office space. Our first child was born in October, and we decided to turn the guest room into his nursery. We considered sacrificing the office instead, but ultimately felt that we needed the office more. I work on site but also do some freelance work from home, and my husband works a hybrid schedule. While we don't need an office to work, it's much more comfortable and less chaotic, especially now that we have a baby. Besides, we rarely have guests over, and when we do, the office is large enough to fit a regular mattress on the floor. My father lives in a different country and is visiting for Christmas, which will be his first time meeting my son in person. The last time he stayed with us, I was pregnant, and we still had the guest room, so he stayed there. A couple of weeks ago, my father called to ask if he could stay with us again. I said yes, but explained that we no longer had a guest room and he would have to sleep in the office. He was surprised and asked what I meant, so I explained that we had turned the guest room into the baby's nursery. He became annoyed and asked why we didn't get rid of the office instead. I explained our reasoning, but he cut me off, saying, "Whatever, I'll get a hotel," and hung up. The next day, he sent me a text saying it was selfish and inconsiderate of my husband and me to prioritize an office we don't actually need over properly accommodating guests. He added that he didn't raise me to be such a bad hostess and that it was unreasonable to expect people to sleep on a mattress on the floor. My sister is siding with him, and it has made me start to doubt myself. Update. First, I want to thank everyone for their suggestions regarding alternative guest arrangements, such as Murphy beds, sleeper sofas, and futons. While I appreciate the advice, most of those options wouldn't work for us. We don't have the space for a pull-out couch, a Murphy bed is outside our budget, and we need more than just a single desk for our office. That said, my husband and I are now considering getting a small futon as a compromise. Ultimately, my father did end up staying at a hotel, though not without reluctance. I didn't fully express this in my original post, but I feel like his reaction was less about the guest room itself and more about his long-standing expectations of me. He has always expected me to prioritize others, even when it was inconvenient or uncomfortable for me. For example, I shared a room with my sister for 6 years just so he could have a guest room that he rarely used. Personally, I've never really liked having guests stay over for long periods. While my father has always enjoyed hosting, I've found it exhausting and uncomfortable. Now that I have a baby, the idea of hosting someone for days feels even more overwhelming. After some tension during the holidays, my father and I finally had a small discussion. I told him that while we are researching a futon, for now, a mattress on the floor is the best we can offer. I also made it clear that I was upset by his initial reaction, and if he ever behaves this way again, I won't host him at all, futon or no futon. He can either book a hotel room or wait until my sister moves out of our mom's house. On Friday, after he got home safely, he sent me a message apologizing. I'm not sure how sincere it was, but for now, I'm choosing not to dwell on it. Looking ahead, my husband and I plan to have at least one more child, so the office may eventually become another nursery. There's also a possibility that we'll move to a larger place in the future, but regardless, a guest room will never be a priority for us. For now, I'm happy with how we've arranged our home, and I'm glad we were able to handle this situation peacefully. Most importantly, my son's first Christmas was perfect. Next up, my partner, 28F, is a vegetarian by choice. I do most of the cooking because she works odd hours at her retail job, and I genuinely enjoy cooking. Often I prepare meals that can have meat or veggies added separately, or I make entirely vegetarian dishes, think chickpea bowls. Recently, she's been commenting that she wishes I would meal prep for her as well. Typically, I'll make extra carbs for her, like rice or potatoes, and occasionally some extra veggies. However, this morning, she got really upset when she saw that I had my lunches prepped for the week, while she only had the extra rice I had made. I told her that while I'm happy to make extra rice or potatoes for her, I already spend about an hour and a half meal prepping my own lunches. If she wanted to, she could take the meals I've made as is, which include meat, but I wasn't willing to spend another 30 to 45 minutes prepping separate vegetarian meals for her. She suggested that I could just go vegetarian too, but I explained that I don't enjoy soy-based protein options, and since she doesn't like beans, it's difficult to find vegetarian meals that leave me feeling full. I'm also trying to lose weight by limiting snacking, and meat-based meals help me stay satiated longer. She got frustrated, stormed out this morning, and hasn't been responding to my texts. So my question is, am I the jerk for not making her separate meals? Are we just at an impasse? I didn't expect this to turn into such a big issue. Edit, she finally texted back saying, I thought we were a team. What are you going to do when the future kids go vegetarian? Are you just going to make them cook their own meals? It looks like this is turning out to be a bigger deal than I initially thought. Let's start judging. You're not in the wrong. I would maybe offer a trade-off. What chore could she take on that would give you an hour back somewhere else? But either way, you do not have to prep an entirely different menu. You are setting yourself up for the week. She could choose to do it with you. She could prep something to go in the oven that you could pop in while you are cooking. She could take the rice or potatoes and just add a few things. She's an adult. You're not in the wrong. It sounds like you're doing a lot of cooking already and trying to be considerate with the extra rice and veggies. It's understandable that your partner wants more meal prep for herself, but it's also fair that you don't want to spend extra time making separate meals when you already put in a lot of effort. Communication around food preferences and responsibilities definitely seems to be the core issue here. Maybe it's worth discussing a meal plan that works for both of you, where you're each taking on some of the prep to meet both your needs. You're not in the wrong. Your soon-to-be ex-girlfriend is looking for a fight. She's manufacturing one out of idiocy and laziness. Why do I say that? Because she's a grown adult. She can make her own food. And unless she does some task that takes her time in an equal manner like laundry, why should you spend time for her? It's just ridiculous. She sounds incredibly entitled and spoiled and perhaps narcissistic. Maybe this is a one-off, or this is a symptom of some more deep-seated issues. Next up, my dad cheated on my mom with my now stepmother, Virg, and it hurt my mom deeply. I have an older brother, but he was already away for his studies when my parents separated, so he didn't experience things the way I did. Because of that, he doesn't really understand how I feel, so talking to him hasn't been helpful. Now, I, 17F, split my time between my mom's house and my dad's house, where I live with him, Virg, and her 2 kids, 14M and 11F, every other week. I'm naturally not a very talkative person, and after what happened, I've found it even harder to connect with my dad or his new family. Since my dad hurt my mom, and by extension me, I don't feel motivated to go out of my way to spend time with them. Today, my dad came to talk to me about spending more time with Virg because he said it hurts her that I'm not trying to be a part of their little family. I didn't know how to respond. I can't just tell him that if I had the choice, I wouldn't even live with them. It would hurt him, and I don't want to make things worse. The kids are fine. I've known them for a while, and they don't try to force a relationship with me, which I appreciate. Now, I'm wondering if I'm being mean for not making an effort to get to know Virg better, or if my feelings are valid. To me, she's the person who made my mom cry for almost a whole year. It's hard for me to look past that. Edit, to clarify, I do want to see my dad. I just don't want to be around Virg and her kids. I have no intention of cutting my dad off completely. Let's start judging. You're not in the wrong. Tell Dad that he didn't just cheat on your mom, he cheated on you too. He cheated you out of having a full-time father. He cheated you out of a happy home. With your mom crying all the time and him having the woman he cheated on you with in his home, your happy home is gone. You have no reason to befriend the homewrecker or her children. He needs to be told the truth. You're not in the wrong. Tell your dad the truth. He didn't care about you when he broke up your family. He doesn't get to demand you play happy families with his side piece just so she feels better. Tell him you don't want to live with him, you don't like Virg, and you're just waiting for your birthday to never visit again. You're not in the wrong. Whose feelings did your father care about when he had an affair and broke up your family? Not your mother's and not yours either. You are giving him far more grace than he deserves. Virg is hurt. Did Virg care about hurting your mother and breaking up your family? No, she didn't. She also does not deserve your grace.